Think men can't lactate? Think again. Today we're diving headfirst into the weird and wonderful world of the male body, a place where biology throws out the rulebook. From reflexes that seem designed to troll, to hormonal shifts that might have guys catching unexpected feelings. We'll reveal it all on today's episode of the Infographic Show. The most weird facts about the male body. Number 24. Men don't exactly have a full set of breasts like women, but under certain circumstances they can lactate. Okay, it's not normal, but it's possible. Men don't typically produce milk because their prolactin levels, the hormone that helps trigger milk production, are way lower than women's. But if something goes wrong, like their pituitary gland goes haywire, or they start taking meds like chlorpromazine, steroids, or even a heart medication like digoxin, their prolactin levels can spike. And if you throw in some extra hormones, like estrogen and prolactin, you might just get a guy who can lactate. Even famed explorer Alexander von Humboldt wrote about it in his Voyage aux régions equinationales du Nouveau Continent. In a remote Venezuelan village, he recorded the story of a man who breastfed his infant son for 3 months while the child's mother was ill. Sure, it's an outlier, but it happened. Number 23. Guys, your facial hair grows fast. On average, men's facial hair grows about 0.3 to 0.5 millimeters every single day. That means in 2 to 4 months, you could have a full lush beard that would make any lumberjack jealous. And if they don't trim it ever, that beard could grow to nearly 30 feet in their lifetime. Number 22. It turns out that men's skin is like the body's version of a bulletproof vest against wear and tear. Thanks to a little help from testosterone, a man's skin is about 25% thicker than a woman's. This extra thickness gives their skin a tougher texture, so they're less likely to show signs of aging, like wrinkles, as quickly as women. So if you add in some facial hair, men have got the ultimate natural armor. Number 21. Apparently, men are the ones winning the sleep game. On average, they need less sleep than women, around 11 minutes less per night, to be precise. According to the Sleep Research Center, women's brains are a little more complex, which means that they need more rest to process all the multitasking they do. Men, on the other hand, seem to get by just fine with a little less sleep, rolling out of bed ready to face the day, while women might still be wondering why they're not fully awake. Number 20. Men's Adam's apple is like the loud, proud billboard of puberty. When the larynx grows and the cartilage thickens, it can help deepen the voice of boyhood, a signal of maturity and possibly masculinity. That deeper voice could be a sign of increased testosterone, which is associated in nature with male traits. The larger larynx also helps protect the vocal cords, which are crucial for making those low, gruff tones. One theory is that the Adam's apple might be a leftover feature from evolutionary biology, sort of like the appendix of the throat. It might have originally had a function in our distant ancestors, possibly related to vocalization or communication. Over time, though, it might have just stuck around as a kind of evolutionary leftover that ended up playing a role in distinguishing male traits from female ones. Things are about to get a whole lot weirder. Number 19. All human embryos start out female. For the first 6 weeks in the womb, every embryo follows the same blueprint, phenotypically female by default. It's like the body is running on autopilot, laying down the foundation. And then, if a Y chromosome is present, the shift begins. What would have been ovaries and a clitoris become testes and a penis. But this doesn't mean that the embryo was secretly female in some hidden deep down way. It's just that the potential for either gender exists in the same starting blueprint. Number 18. Sperm cells are among the smallest cells in the male body. They might help create life, but they don't take up much space. Even related to the rest of the animal kingdom, they are tiny. A fruit fly's sperm is 1,000 times larger than human sperm. And even a rat's sperm is 5 times bigger. But it's not about size, this is a numbers game. Number 17. Men's bodies run on a 24/7 sperm production schedule. No holidays, no weekends off. They churn out around 1,500 sperm per second, which adds up to a staggering 100 to 300 million sperm a day. If you could somehow line up all the sperm a man produces in a day, they would stretch for kilometers. Most of the sperm comes from the seminal vesicles and prostate glands, with a little assistance from the testicles and epididymis. And when it's time to release, an average ejaculation has around 15 million to 200 million sperm per millimeter of semen. And they're all swimming for the same target. It takes about 2 to 3 months for a sperm to be fully produced. But no worries, fellas, your body is always working on the next batch. It's like an industrial factory that never stops producing. And since we're on the sperm train, let's set the record straight on this next one. Number 16. When it comes to picking whether the baby is going to be a boy or a girl, it's all on the sperm. When the sperm fertilizes an egg, it combines its 23 chromosomes with the egg's 23, making a full set of 46 chromosomes. The egg is always carrying an X chromosome because women are biologically XX. But the sperm is a genetic lottery ticket, either an X or a Y chromosome inside. If the sperm carrying an X chromosome wins, well, you got yourself a girl, XX. If a Y-carrying sperm takes the prize, it's a boy, XY. So really, when it comes down to it, sperm are the ones calling the shots on baby gender. Alright, this next one is wild and super weird, and it might offer a few of you out there some solace. Number 15. Good news, the penis is longer than you think. But the bad news is that around half of its entire length is tucked away inside the body. The bulk of it lies deep within, hidden in the pelvic region, attached to the pubic bone. It's made up of erectile tissue like the corpus cavernosum and the corpus sponginosum, which extend into your body in a boomerang-like shape. Just like how a mighty oak tree has its roots hidden underground, your penis is quietly hanging out below the surface doing its thing. So next time you look down, just remember, it's not all out there, but it's definitely still impressive. And here's another weird fact to give some of you out there a little bit more pep in your step. Number 14. When it comes to absolute size and proportion to body mass, the human penis is way ahead of the competition. Compared to other primates, including the mighty gorilla, humans are packing some serious heat. The average erect gorilla penis is a mere 1.25 inches, while chimps and bonobos come in at around 3 inches, but the average human is packing a solid 5.1 to 5.5 inches. Humans have no penis bone, unlike most primates. Instead, the human erection comes from vasocongestion. Basically, blood rushes in and makes it more flexible. This flexibility, believe it or not, is thought to have evolved thanks to female mate choice, where according to some theories, bipedalism helped us display our assets better. So while human penises are the largest in length and girth compared to any other ape species, our testes are lagging behind. In fact, chimp and bonobo testes are twice as large as ours, and gorillas are only half the size. Number 13. Ever wondered why the human penis has that particular shape? Well, it turns out it's all about the sperm competition. A 2004 study in Sage Journals found that the distinctive shape of the human penis, specifically the pronounced ridge at the head, isn't just there to do the job of sperm deposit. It also works as a biological tool to displace the sperm of previous rivals. Researchers from SUNY Albany and New York tested different artificial phallus shapes and found that the shape of the human penis is actually designed to scoop out and replace any sperm left behind by the last guy. Basically, it's like nature's way of making sure your sperm gets the prime real estate in the race to fertilize the egg. Gird your loins for this next one. It is scary and weird. Number 12. Believe it or not, while there is no bone in the penis, it can still break. It's not a common occurrence, but when it happens, it's a whole lot worse than your average bad day. Penile fractures usually happen during vigorous sex, but it's also been documented in people who somehow manage to fall out of bed with an erection. So what exactly happens when the penis breaks? Well, it's not like it snaps in half. Instead, it's the fibrous covering of the corpora cavernosa, the tissue that fills with blood to make your Johnson stand at attention, that ruptures. The moment of fracture is often accompanied by a popping or a cracking sound, intense pain, swelling, and of course flaccidity. Talk about a mood killer. Now before you panic, the good news is that penile fractures are rare, and if you get to a doctor fast enough, full function can be restored. But according to a study that analyzed 42 cases of penile fracture, the most dangerous position was woman on top. Let's pivot to another area of a man's body, the part that really matters. Number 11. Physically speaking, men have bigger hearts. No, we're not talking about who's got more room for feelings or affection or the ability to shed a tear during a rom-com. We're talking about actual heart size. Research has found that the surface area of a man's heart is typically larger than a woman's, regardless of overall body size. And if you go deeper, the chambers of a man's heart are bigger, while a woman's heart veins are finer. Basically, men's hearts are built for a little more volume, while women's are more about precision. Oddly enough, even though men's hearts are physically larger, women's hearts actually beat faster. Number 10. Men have a Gspot. It's just a little more hidden. Tucked away in the prostate, between the bladder and the penis, this small gland is loaded with nerve endings, almost as many as the clitoris. While it might not be talked about as much, the male Gspot can play a big role in pleasure if you know where to look. Number 9. Just like your feet, nose, and ears, the prostate doesn't stop growing after puberty. Puberty is actually just phase 1. During those acne-filled years, your prostate has its first major growth spurt, doubling in size. But the fun doesn't stop there. Around age 25, your prostate kicks off a second growth phase that continues on throughout the rest of your life. While some guys might experience no issues, others may eventually run into complications as the prostate continues to grow and potentially puts pressure on the surrounding area. So keep an eye on it because this gland is in it for the long haul. Things are about to get super weird and cool and really weird. Number 8. Ever been to a doctor's checkup and had them hit your knee with that little hammer, only for your leg to kick out involuntarily? Well, imagine that, but with the testicles. Welcome to the world of the cremasteric reflex. It's a reflex that happens when a man's inner thigh gets stroked just right, causing the testicles to rise. Yep, the nuts go up almost like the body's own weird party trick. This happens thanks to the cremaster muscle, which is wrapped around the testicles and contracts when the thigh is stimulated. It's a superficial reflex. Basically, it's a motor response triggered by skin contact, like when the doctor taps on your knee and you kick. The cremaster muscle's usual job is to pull the testicles closer to the body when it's cold to keep them warm. But in this case, when the thigh is touched, that same muscle kicks into action, pulling the testicles up toward the abdomen. Number 7. You ever notice how men tend to sweat buckets while women seem to stay cool under pressure? While women may have more sweat glands, men's sweat glands are actually more efficient at pumping out sweat. So while the total number of sweat glands between the sexes might be similar, men's glands output more sweat per gland, which leads to higher perspiration rates. Before puberty, girls and boys sweat about the same amount, but once hormones kick in, it's like flipping a switch. Men start sweating sooner in higher volumes, especially when they're active or in heat. Why? Scientists say it's about testosterone, which supercharges men's sweat response. Women, on the other hand, need to get a little hotter before the sweat starts flowing, thanks to estrogen, which helps keep their body temperatures lower. And let's not forget another reason why men sweat more. They're usually bigger. The bigger the body, the more heat it generates, and the more it needs to cool down. So the next time someone wonders why a guy is drenched in sweat, just point to their size and testosterone. It's science, not panic. Which pairs nicely with this next uber-weird fact. Number 6. The never-ending battle over the thermostat is a familiar saga in many homes and offices. Some studies even show that while men are perfectly comfortable in rooms with a thermostat set to 72 degrees Fahrenheit, women tend to start shivering unless the temperature hits 77. It's because men and women seem to have completely different ideas of what comfortable temperature really means. While both men and women share a core body temperature of 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, men typically feel warmer because of one key factor: muscle mass. Men tend to have more muscle mass than women, and muscles burn more calories to fuel their movement. This extra effort generates more heat. Basically, men are like walking space heaters, radiating warmth wherever they go. And since women generally have less muscle mass, their bodies just don't crank out the warmth in the same way. This next one is controversial, but science backs it up. Number 5. Men's brains generate more dopamine in response to being rewarded. Dopamine is the brain's feel-good chemical, the messenger behind motivation, learning, focus, and all things pleasure. So when you crush a video game, nail a work presentation, or sink your teeth into the perfect burger, that's when the feel-good fireworks start. While some studies hint at differences in how men's and women's brains process dopamine, it's a bit more nuanced. Men's brains don't always release more dopamine than women's. It's more like a sometimes in certain activities kind of thing. For example, research shows that in specific brain regions like the ventral striatum, men have a greater dopamine release than women. But men's brains seem to go into overdrive when there's a reward involved, firing up dopamine production more than women's brains do in certain situations. Now, while dopamine is all about rewarding the brain, let's shift gears and talk about how the body's wiring takes over when it's time for a more physical kind of reward. Number 4. Most men have very little control over exactly when they ejaculate. And that's because the signal to ejaculate actually comes from the spinal ejaculation generator. Yes, that is a real thing, and it is located in the spinal cord. The spinal region is responsible for coordinating the necessary functions, so while the brain can influence things like thinking about something else to delay the event, it's mostly the spine calling the shots. Speaking of involuntary bodily functions, here's another one that men don't have much control over. Number 3. Turns out hearing loss doesn't play favorites, but men sure seem to get the short end of the stick here. Men are twice as likely to experience hearing loss than women, and it starts earlier, typically around age 20. men lose the ability to hear higher frequencies first. So if they're struggling to hear consonants, high-pitched sounds, or those soft voices of women and children, it's not just selective hearing. Studies have shown that women generally have better hearing thresholds, especially in frequencies above 2000 Hz. Now, while hearing may be on the decline, male fetuses are already getting a jump on things. Number 2. At around 16 weeks, male fetuses develop tiny little protuberances that rise and fall throughout gestation. Scientists aren't exactly sure why, but one theory is that these movements help keep the penile tissue oxygenated and healthy. It's like the fetus is doing its own pre-puberty stretch routine. And we're wrapping things up with a weird one. Number 1. Men get their own version of PMS, affectionately dubbed menstruation, or for the more medically inclined, irritable male syndrome or IMS. Men have hormonal cycles too, they just don't have a monthly predictable one. Testosterone levels are typically higher in the morning and dip in the evening. In fact, during the fall months, men's testosterone levels are often lower, which can mess with their mojo and make them more prone to those emotional roller coasters. It's basically a man period, with symptoms like fatigue, cramps, increased sensitivity, and cravings. A study found that 26% of men regularly go through this hormonal chaos. It's the andropause coming to say hello, along with all the lovely symptoms like weight gain and estrogen production, which only makes things worse. Looks like the hormonal struggle is real. Which of these weird male body facts surprised you the most? Got another strange or hilarious fact we missed? Drop it in the comments. Now go check out weird facts about testosterone in men, or click on this other video instead.